LEN'S Island's only a few days away from its release in early access by the time you've seen this video, so I thought it's about time we go through 10 things you need to know about this new crafting, base building, exploration, RPG survival game from indie devs flowstudio. Leave a like if you find it useful, let's go. LEN'S Island's got a big mix of chill survival, crafting, exploration and RPG. Pretty much the developers want you to be able to choose what you enjoy the most. You'll be able to go for questing and foraging as well as fighting off demons in caves, but if you're more of a builder then you can go ahead and spend a bit more time just gathering resources and building a house. It's a top-down viewpoint and it's scheduled to be a single player at early access launch, but they do have plans to add multiplayer in the future. And while some people hate lazy comparisons, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Think more along the lines of Diablo or Torchlight mixed in with Animal Crossing and you'll get the idea. As mentioned, it's going to be an early access release and they're planning for at least 2 years, beginning on the 26th November on Steam. The price obviously will be cheaper than the full game and they plan to update it with lots of content in the future. It is made predominantly by a tiny two-man studio team, so don't expect huge massive updates every single week, but they are committed to updating the game fully and getting lots of content added all throughout early access. Given this will be one of the first big game projects they've done, so far everything I've played shows me that this game is going to be great. So a deeper dive into the actual mechanics of the game, and it is predominantly a survival exploration RPG game. Yes, I know that's still a lot of labels, so let's break it down a little bit. Exploration is going to be key. You start off originally on a large island and this is all handmade, there's no procedural generatedness in this game. Instead, they've crafted and placed everything exactly where they want it to be. You'll be able to swim or build bridges across the smaller islands where you'll be able to trade goods as well as come across all sorts of new enemies, and the biggest part though is exploring some of the caves. The main part of your island is pretty safe and docile, it's meant to be your haven, but step further off it or deeper into it and you'll come across a selection of Stranger Things styled creatures. These will try and hinder you obviously and stop you from exploring further, and hopefully along the way you'll be able to light the paths and venture deeper and darker areas to get better loot and find more resources. Along the way completing challenges and jumps and avoiding traps. Of course, like any good survival game, you're going to be smashing away at a few trees, and it's no different at LEN'S Island as you try and build yourself some cozy cabins. It has a completely modular build set, so you'll be able to place and build your own little constructions exactly how you want it, with multiple roof parts, walls, ceilings and of course walkways, plus a whole load of decoration items. It's just about possible not to venture too deep into caves if you really don't like the combat side of things, and live your life just chopping away at trees, getting some of the bare resources and building up your home just on the island as a cozy farming simulator. You can even find forgotten ruins that you can go ahead and recycle for resources, or carry on finishing off the base that you find and having a half built base ready to go. There is a full photo mode in the game as well if you just want to take pretty pictures of the houses you've built. To go along your pretty bases, you will have to do quite a bit of farming to keep yourself alive. It's not the most punishing survival game, you only have to worry about food, don't worry about water, and more or less it's going to keep you going. You'll be able to head into town and interact with NPCs, buy new goods or sell maybe some of your wares so you can eventually get better weapons and equipment. Whether you're putting some planter boxes at your home or going ahead and converting the whole island into massive farms, players with green thumbs will enjoy it. Despite its pretty and cozy nature, there's a deep combat system within this game with a whole host of weapons which we'll talk about in a second. But effectively, you'll be venturing into caves or, like I said, going to other islands and coming across these creatures. The combat system relies on mouse-led inputs, although you can switch it to WASD as you move around, and I'm hoping they're going to add controllers for big thumb dudes like me. It looks like they're going to be adding more ranged content in the future as well, and definitely with the combat you're going to experience lots of special moves with 2 keys associated, 2 extra moves or flourishes with each different set of weapons. So if you enjoy fighting creatures a little bit more, I think the combat system in this might be satisfying once you learn how to master it. With special timed attacks as well as I do believe certain parry moves, the game has a much deeper combat system than I think most people give it credit. On the surface, LEN'S Island looks like it's more or less just a cozy builder, but there's got some deep progression mechanics planned as well as in the launch. With over 80 different weapons and tools that you can unlock, buy or find, it's definitely going to be something a bit more. With special abilities for a lot of these weapons with their own movesets as well, it's definitely got a lot more RPG mechanics than you would give it credit for. So if you're having trouble defeating certain creatures or making your run through the caves, maybe you need to head back home and get some upgrades. Again, it looks like the loot isn't randomized, so there's always a purpose, but the devs do want you to be able to play in certain ways that you want to play, rather than be forced down the min-max method. So whatever sets of weapons you prefer, you will be able to have fun and complete the game in the way that you want. In an interview that I've done with the lead creator, they have told me that they are planning to add multiplayer. It's the #1 most requested feedback, and although things can possibly change during early access, they are very keenly aware that's what players want, so look out for that being added in the future. But it might not be as typical as you might expect, so they do have some ideas about adding something a bit new to the multiplayer space in the game. But to be clear, it won't have multiplayer at launch, and it's not going to be added in within the next few weeks or possibly even the next couple of months. And obviously I try and represent console fans as much as possible. I did ask the devs what they expect with console, and they want to get the PC version right first. They definitely want to look at consoles, and they feel like it would be perfect maybe on something like the Switch, but as well as other platforms. But first they need to make sure they launch correctly and start having a good flow of updates. So it could be a good while before we see it hit, but they definitely want to take it on board, but probably most likely doing it themselves. So yeah, maybe don't expect this to hit console until maybe at least 2023. During early access, you can expect more zones to be added with a total of 5, as well as possibly another whole island to play on. More creatures, more mini bosses, and a final boss fight to take care of, as well as even more weapons, equipment, and of course building and decorations. The devs do want to update frequently, and as a small team it may take a bit of time sometimes, but they have plans in their head about how they're going to progress, with content coming at regular intervals. And finishing off with a bit of no fluff, is this game the right one for you? If you enjoy games like Diablo or Torchlight, but you recognise it's a smaller scale fare at the moment, then I think this will give you a good amount of fun and a little bit more interesting stuff to do with the base building as well. I think survival fans will also enjoy it, where it's not too grindy, although there definitely are elements of typical farming and resource gathering, but it's not as punishing as needing every single kind of vitamin inside your body at all times. Simple system of eating food replenishes your stamina bar, and then that means you can keep your health up. With a decent starting selection of crafting benches and refineries and stuff, I think it will keep a typical survival fan busy. As for builders, there is obviously 3 tile sets that you can mess around with different looks for your buildings, and the creativity that I've already seen in screenshots from when they've had open betas and demos really shows that you could do a lot with this game. If you're the kind of builder that likes showing your stuff off from social media in screenshots and pictures, I think LEN'S Island is going to be a great game for you. Hopefully they will add a creative mode in the future. That's the one thing I forgot to ask during my interview. And there we go, a bit of a hype piece for a game that I think's got real potential and promise. I'm going to be covering it across both my channels. You'll see a first impressions and possibly some more live streams on the main, and then on my second channel you're going to see more guides and absolutely some let's play content on that one too. So do go and give it a follow. You'll find the links for JadeCraft in the comment section, and if you want to see much more of this, absolutely check out my future videos on both platforms. Until next time, rat bags, laters.